last couple of years, it doesn't seem like 5 years ago that you've seen this many big regional races around. You had to go race with national touring events to try to race for any money. And it seems like every couple of weekends we can go race for $5,000 to $10,000, this August 16th and 17th, Richmond's paying $20,000 to win.
That's right.
Portsmouth is paying $6,000 to win, $1,000 for fast time, and $1,000 something for halfway leader. So, them tracks aren't. I'll have to look. I'm not sure they're that far apart, and so I mean, you can pick and choose and go race, for a good amount of money each week instead of just trying to go pick on the guys that run local with, not as nice stuff that try to race for fun and still not make no money. So,
and
that's what we try to do.
Colten, and you just hit on that, buddy. I didn't mean to cut you off, but, I call BS on that. I mean, I think it's BS, not on what you're saying, but what you are saying. I mean, you got the big North-South 50 this weekend or the North-South 100, I'm sorry, at Florence, Kentucky for Lucas Oil. Richmond Raceway is taking off. They've not raced in 3 weeks to prepare for the Butterball, and now you're telling me that they're saying next weekend when Richmond's running their 20,000 win historic Butterball, Florence, Kentucky is going to run a race against them. That's crazy. Why?
Well, is the Florence race is a local race, you say?
Do I now?
The Florence race is a local race against Richmond?
I thought when I was hearing you say, I thought you were saying that next weekend they're doing a 6,000 to win super late model race up there at Florence, Kentucky, on top of the Richmond Butterball, which is next weekend.
No, that Portsmouth Raceway for the.
But that's even more crazier too. I mean, that's crazy. I mean, I honestly, as a driver, Colten, what does promoters need to do to try to how do you pick and choose, or what makes you make the decision to go to the races that you do? I think that's the nicest way of saying it.
Well, I don't know. I don't know how long they've had them scheduled.
I mean, is it safe enough to say that the promoters today, the way they're doing the scheduling, makes you possibly become cherry pickers to decide where to go, where to race? And I'm not calling you that. I'm just saying, as drivers in general, you're forced to have to decide where to go to watch a race as fans also.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it'd be cherry picking either place. I mean, they're like, for instance, the driver, I'm certain that that'll win both of them races at each track is capable of winning a national series event at that track. So I don't think anybody's going to get to pick and choose and cherry pick, but it's just nice. I mean, it would be awesome if they were separate races. That way we could race. It'd make it to where you could almost race every weekend if tracks would work together and schedule them, or they're not on top of each other. You could race every weekend for over $5,000. But I've never been to Richmond. I don't even know how far it is from here, but we get excited when weekends come up where there's a lot of money on the line. I mean, obviously we can't go to both of them because they're both on the same night. I'm not sure we'll go to either of them, being our motor situation, but I do appreciate the opportunity to go race for that kind of money.
You have gathered the nickname here last month or for a while. They call you Big Money. Big Money Colten Burdett is joining us here on Finish Line. Why does it seem like the 44 rocket shines when there's big money races on the line like you've been able to do recently?
Well, that's really the only races we've been trying to go to. But, we've always been better at a little bit of a longer race in a slicker racing condition. I've never been the hammer down, rough track, heavy track, pushing driver. And, even starting out last week at Princeton, I mean, we ran fifth in the dash, and I don't think we were even on the same straightaway as the leader. For the whole first half of the race, I don't think we were on the same straightaway as the leader. So just as the race goes on, I think, I don't know if some people use their stuff up as less conservative or what, but it takes me a while to get in a rhythm, and, we just try to be smooth and make sure we're there at the end of every race. I don't know, Rocket's got a real good package right now. I mean, these XR1s regionally, nationally, locally are just good cars, and they're putting, so to speak, people that aren't the best of drivers in victory lane, which means something. It don't mean anything that it does. I mean, it's awesome that people like Brandon Shepherd's out winning multiple races, but he's expected to do that no matter what he's in. Now, you take a driver like me that's only been a local Ohio Valley Speedway shoe, my whole life, and then take me to, a national race at Chillicothe where we can drive from the con seat up to fourth before fading back a little bit, and other big races where we can come up front. Well, that's saying something. That's a good race car right there.
I know you mentioned, by the way, on Finish Line, we're joined by Colten Burdett, big money at a Parkersburg 44 Rocket, of course, winner of the West Virginia Dirt Cup. We'll talk about Princeton here. Our final segment coming up at 12:45 will be Phil Combs talking about the 12th Annual Big O Tribute, the Indianapolis 500 of go-kart racing that's weekend in South Carolina. We'll talk about that as our final segment. But, Colten, you hinted on big races. What big races are we going to see big money at before the end of the 2019 season?
Well, that's hard to say. I'd like to be confident and tell you exactly what we're going to be to. But we got 2 laptop motors, and there's 2 races I really care about. The Dillo Memorial at Portsmouth. I haven't missed it in several years. We ran, a matter of fact, I had this car brand new there last year and ran second. Plus it's a dirt track, provisional, and then there's what I hear, a bigger race at Ohio Valley Speedway coming up for one of their local guys that passed away earlier this year that, was a fan of ours. And, I'd really like to get to them 2 races, but we're working on a motor situation right now to try to decide whether we're going to get one of these rebuilt or try to get another one to keep going because, toward the end of every year, there's a lot of money on the line, and I'd like to be confident that we'd like to go to a lot of them and just keep running good and just putting our name out there. And, but I can't say nothing for sure, without having a motor that's ready to go the rest of the season. I can't say that for sure. We just got to see where things, play out. So
want to be a spoiler, so to speak.
Yeah. I mean, just like Robbie was telling me about Princeton, he's like, I had no clue you was coming. I guess just a pleasant surprise. I'm like, well, yeah, full-time job and being on a budget, I can't commit to something a month out. I mean, I know where we'd like to go, and I have on paper where I'd like to go, but at the end of the day, the funds got to make sense to go there, or we can't go. So, I'd be glad to tell anybody what I know, but it's just too hard to say to commit. You get people, which I see all the time, committing to tracks, and where they put it out there, they're going to be there, and then, you let fans down by doing that too, because you may have fans go there to watch you and then you don't even show up after said you're going. So, we don't know. We'll just have to see, but I'd like to hope that we're ready to go the rest of the season. I know I enjoyed going to Eldora last year. I always, other than the format, I always enjoyed going to the DTWC, but, we just have to wait and see, where sponsors fall out and what happens with this motor deal. So, I wish I could say, but I don't even know at this point. I know this weekend we'll be racing, locally somewhere. A fellow racer in an XR1 has been struggling, and, we went through his car and set it up, and we raced at one time and got into a lap car, within like 5 laps in the race, which ended our night. And, we're going to try again this weekend and see if, I can't get him happy with this thing and in the right direction. So,
Princeton Speedway, you got yourself a big win. First ever win on the Ultimate Chew on this Jerky Mid-Ohio Valley Series. Closing out the West Virginia Dirt Cup and the Buckeye Late Model Dirt Weeks. Obviously, Tyler Carpenter was the champion. You raced with him. Yeah, you raced with Matthew Nance and Ryan Montgomery and all these guys that were out there on that racetrack on last Saturday night. Talk about that wild race at Princeton and how cool you were to win that show and to see the atmosphere that was seeing that track back open after a year close.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I like that place really well the last time we went there. And, I don't remember what place we got, but I remember we were in good, and I knew going into that race I wasn't sure how many cars they'd have. I figured for sure they'd have more than that, but going into the race, obviously anybody that races around here knows Tyler's going to be the most competition at the end of the race. And there's some good younger guys that are, really, really hammers. But, I wasn't sure if they'd be there at the end of the race. And, we just went there and just focused on our stuff and what we do best and tried to be smooth the whole race and to try to be there at the end. And I don't know, I watched the replay there a couple times, and it was a pretty good race. I mean, I hope people were happy with that one, and I was glad we came out on top.
Yeah, me and Hal Furrow hit a couple of octave levels that made us sound like Mickey Mouse or Minnie Mouse. But that was the excitement of the race. I mean, you guys were fender to fender, banging each other, racing hard. Great competition. Had the caution not failed, do you think there would have been a different outcome in that race?
You mean the one when we was all side by side whenever we had lined up?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. It's hard to say. I definitely felt like I had the best car at that point. But, racing with people, passing them is another thing. And you never know if somebody's holding on till that last couple laps. We took, I think it was 7 to go right before that caution. And, I was really just, we was running hard, and I was riding, just waiting for someone to mess up and capitalize on it. I mean, that's all you can do. I wasn't going to run anybody over. Tyler's always raced me very, very clean. Henry's, a clean racer, and, then I know Henry was running the cushion pretty hard, and I knew how brutal it was. And if you race, I don't think I touched it all night in 3 and 4 because of how brutal it was. So that just shows how good the car was to rotate through the center off the cushion and still be there. But, I don't think it would have changed the outcome other than the fact that Tyler took the lead down that backstretch. And when, these cars today are so aero dependent, when somebody gets out in clean air, just like I ran third the whole race, toward the end of the race. And after the restart, when I was out front, I think I won by half a straightaway, maybe a little over. That right. Just shows you how much clean air means. Because the cars are so aero dependent. It's like you bolted a whole different set of tires on or changed your setup completely whenever you're running second or third, and all of a sudden you start out in open air. It's just like, I don't know how to explain it. It's just a whole different driving race car.
Yeah, absolutely. And when you're out in clean air, like you said, you don't have no turbulence. You don't have any other cars besides you. You don't have that, you're able to use your car to its maximum potential, the motor, everything. But when you're stuck in traffic, and by the way, props to you guys, because even though you were stuck in that dirty air, stuck in traffic, racing with everybody, you guys respected one another. I mean, yeah, there was some bumping, there was some slide jobs, sliders, crossovers. Fans were going bananas on the top of the hill and the trackside down in the grandstands. They loved that show. It didn't matter that there was only 12 cars there. You 12 drivers or you 6 drivers that were in that pack put on a hell of a show, and that was racing.
Yeah, I mean, it'd be kind of, even to win the race, you'd be stabbing yourself in the foot to try to run some drive. Tyler and I raced each other a lot. I mean, big and small. And you just carry on each race. I mean, like he said, he may not have won that one, maybe win the next one, but obviously I'm not going to run him over to win one. We always race each other clean, and I know it's the same thing, that we're probably going to be 2 of the top, competitors. So, me running him over this week to win wouldn't be very smart. We're going to be at the Butterwell for $20,000 to win, and him be riding second with about 3 to go, and then who's on the wrong side of the table now?
That's right. Absolutely.
Respect each other.
You're exactly right. I was going to say that. Respecting each other is definitely the right thing to do, and you can race hard, but respect each other along the way. Colten Burdett, Big Money, congratulations. Thanks for being on Finish Line, and thank out your sponsors on that number 44 Rocket XR1 out of Parkersburg, West Virginia.
Rocket Chassis, obviously. Myself and my dad has been with them for a very long time. great people, great race cars, and safe race cars.